Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Leo energy, and like usual, on this channel we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Leo, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy, because we all have to make decisions in our life, in our free will, dualistic nature, and some people are struggling within themselves to maybe decide how they want to live their life. Do they want to make their life more about themselves, more about indulgence, more about the world, ego, image, money? Sure, that will make them happy. Maybe love, not so important. Just kind of indulge yourself in relationships. And other people could be, live some life experience and kind of realize they were living their life like that. And that's why things weren't working out and they want to do love now. That it is about disciplining yourself. High vibe Leo is about tempering your more immature, beastly nature and loving yourself, believing in yourself, being a loving, encouraging person to yourself, to others, wanting to be in relationships with other people who are authentic and loving and encouraging and have tempered their more immature, beastly nature. But not everybody has done that. Life's about learning lessons, and sometimes it can take the first 30, 40 years of people's lives to learn some of those lessons. So we all tap into Leo energy because shadowy Leo can be all these things that manipulate us. And our ego nature, and high vibe Leo is our more authentic, loving nature. Which one are we aligning with? What kind of people are we hanging out with? So listen to your intuition about where you're at in the story and where some other people are at in the story. At the end, we're going to ask what could be something coming up that people don't see coming, depending on if they harness high vibe or a more worldly, shadowy energy. So let's go look at the bottom row, which can just be these things of the world that we want. We have the snowflake card, Aquarius energy, also represented by the star card. There's these things of the world that we want to manifest, these dreams that we have. Sometimes, though, if we get so caught up in those things, it kind of tips us out of balance, where we kind of don't realize how those things can manipulate us, and it maybe stops us more from listening to our intuition because we so badly want some of those things of the world. We have the thoughts card, the clover, the tree, the letter, and the garden. So we could look at the tree, which is Virgo energy, which Virgo also is kind of about what our truth is. The letter is Gemini energy, which is also kind of what our truth is in our free will nature. And the garden card is Libra energy, what we think is just and fair. The clover card is Sagittarius, which can be our more immature nature. And the thoughts card is kind of like the King of Swords, Libra energy again. Bookending the reading is Libra energy. What do we think is just and fair? What are we motivated and inspired by? And we can be really influenced by the tree. Can represent how we grew up, the people we surround ourselves with. What foundation do we operate from? Do we think there's more to life than just what the world says we should make our life about? Are we tempted to live more from our mind than our heart? I want these things. I have an idea. The thoughts card reminds me of the King of Swords energy, Libra energy. I know, instead of being inspired in my own foundation to make the free will choice to love and believe in myself and go through that door to go get the justice I deserve, having hope and faith and belief in my dreams, maybe I'm not there yet and I don't quite have hope and faith and belief in my dreams. Maybe I need to work with these things of the world and make my life about these things. People in my life and people in the world tell me if I make my life about those things, I'll be happy. And we're all brought up in the world, and we kind of get indoctrinated in the world, by our friends and family members, the foundations that we grow up in. And a lot of those people could be living their life like that. Look, I did this. Look, I have this. Look how happy I am. And I ate this and I drank this and I popped that. And, look at all these things I did and I'm happy. Well, what can make some people happy isn't what makes other people happy. The Aquarius is about, we are our own unique individual. We've all got our own unique dreams, and we all look at life from our perspective, and we all have these ideas of what we think is just and fair and what will make us feel balanced within ourselves and feel like we've gotten justice in the world, and how some people could live their life. Other people could look at that and say, no way, man, I'm not going to live my life like that. You might be happy living your life like that, and to each your own. There's all sorts of people in the world. There can be people we're attracted to. Sagittarius is fire sign energy. And again, we're attracted to these things of the world that we want. Some of you will all get in relationships with other people that we think their truth is the same as our truth. Sometimes as we move forward in relationships with some of those people, over time, Aquarius, represented by the star, is kind of like looking at life from a higher perspective. And, as we learn lessons in life, Sagittarius energy is about learning lessons, higher learning and education. We can be, say, friends with people, and we can grow up with our family members. And over time, we're all doing this work within ourselves to learn lessons, incorporate those lessons into how we move forward in life. We don't keep moving forward forever like a 15-year-old. Hopefully we learn some lessons in life, and then we incorporate that into our foundation of how we continue to move forward. The dream we had at 15, 18, 21, and 25 is different than what our dream and how we want to live our life and what motivates and inspires us and what we think is just and fair when we're 35 and 45, right? And the people in our life that keep being kind of motivated and inspired in high vibe Gemini, Libra, Leo, I want to keep growing and healing and maturing myself and believing in myself. And as I learn these lessons in life and as I look at life from different perspectives, as I go through life, I incorporate that. And I have a different way of viewing what I thought was just and fair than I did like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, last year. We go through these life experiences, and if we incorporate those into how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others, what we think is just and fair in our friendships, in our workplaces, in our romantic relationships, we keep transitioning, and then we'll move forward in life in that new way of living life. And then there's kind of that part of us in our shadow nature where we like to stay in our comfort zone. But then as we're kind of moving forward, 15, 18, 21, 25, we move forward in the next phase of life. And the reason for the top rose reading is the fire sign energy with the dice. We have to face our fears, and we have to be inspired to want to overcome our fears. And high vibe Leo is being in life-giving energy. Leo energy is also represented by the sun. I choose to be in life-giving energy. I choose to be loving and encouraging and supportive to myself, to be inspired to face my fears, to go to that next phase of life. Like I can go take on that next level of responsibility in a job, in friendships, in relationships. I can learn how to do those things. I'm kind of ready for it, right? Well, then we're in a comfort zone. We think this is just and fair. This makes me happy. This is my dream. I'm inspired by it. I'm putting work and effort into it. But then there comes a time where it's kind of like our higher self. It's kind of like life-giving energy at the big picture, kind of represented by God and our soul, wants us to grow to our full potential, to get our divine inheritance. Justice. Libra energy represents justice. And the truth is, as we go through life, there comes a time where kind of like our intuition and our soul is telling us it's time to go through that next doorway. And then we can kind of struggle with it because, we're going to step out of our comfort zone, and we have to go through this phase again of having hope and faith and belief in ourselves, not let our fears and our insecurities and wanting to stay in our comfort zone stop us. And then we go through the next phase, and the people in our life move forward with us. We can have different people in our life at different stages of that relationship, and we can meet new people, and then they kind of go through this process with us. Sometimes, somewhere along the way, we can have some people in our life that it gets to a place where they could have moved forward with us and went through this cycle with us many times of moving forward in life a little differently. Then we're putting in work and effort into that. Then we kind of feel like we or they kind of like, I think I'm kind of ready. Do you want to go do this? I've never done that. You want to go do that? And we could go, maybe that would be fun. And so then we, it's just all the things that we go kind of invest our time, energy, and effort into. And are we willing to make, life's an adventure to move forward with people? Oh yeah, I've never went to the car races. I've never went to the dog races or the horse races, or what? Move? You want to move locations? Are we willing to kind of go through those transitions with people? And sometimes if they're just friends, they're kind of going on their journey, which maybe they could move, go get a different job. Are we still willing to work with people and accept that, if it's not like a romantic relationship, that everybody is kind of going to go on their own journeys? And are we still loving and encouraging of everyone? And, but there can get to a point in a relationship where one person is ready to move forward and someone else isn't. And then that's tough. It's hard if it's like someone you've been really close friends with and you thought you were going to keep being supportive and encouraging of each other, and people doing their thing and living life the way they live it and still be friends. And, it's particularly hard if it's a romantic interest. Because one person is being called to want to face their fears, to high vibe Leo is kind of shed an old layer of yourself to give birth to a new version of yourself, and just maybe a process of being more balanced within yourself, loving yourself, being more authentically yourself. And then some other people in our life, that could be where the line gets drawn. It was one thing to learn all these lessons with each other and go through these different phases with each other. But if it is to harness more high vibrational Leo energy, it could be that a person has to, in fire sign energy, quit being as motivated and inspired by these things of the world. And high vibe Aquarius is about willing to step outside of societal norms to bring needed change. And, it's not so much about these things of the world and your ego or status or money or being immature or self-indulgent, or, it's about really shining your authentic light in the world. Kind of like getting pushed out on the stage of your own life and maybe coming out from behind your ego nature, maybe living more from your mind than your heart, because both Libra and Aquarius energy is air sign energy of the mind. And some people can go through a lot of transitions with people and heal and grow and mature in a lot of ways, but if it would require them to quit living more from their mind, which I view the King of Swords can be a person's more self-defensive, self-protective nature. And high vibe Leo is about loving yourself, learning to love yourself so you do let your more authentic nature out to play in the world, being in your fire sign energy, more bold and brave. Oh, the light bulb just came on. Being more authentically yourself, getting out of maybe your self-protective, self-defensive nature, maybe having a little bit more hope and faith and love. Since Gemini is a dualistic sign and we either align with living more from our mind than our heart, and making our life about these things of the world is most important, and being illuminated to the truth that it's about love, and love is what really makes it all worthwhile. But you have to be bold and brave to do love. You can get hurt doing love. And some people like to be in relationships, but they still like to stay in their kind of more self-protective, self-defensive nature. And that can end up feeling like, in shadowy Sagittarius energy, fire sign energy, that someone's kind of indulging in relationships, but they don't really authentically invest themselves in it. Really have skin in the game. And then for other people, they had a way of living life, their idea of the dream life, these things that are important to them. And it could be making their life either more about themselves, being indulged in a relationship, making their life more about ego and image. And in tarot, they kind of talk about that as being in your south node. And then hopefully as you're learning these lessons in life, hopefully, 30, 40, 50 years old, you do kind of start to look at life differently. And we can put a lot of work and effort to have a lot of stability and security in our life. But then what about really living our more authentic life? And, how long are we going to stay in jobs and friendships and live our life in a way that maybe really isn't aligned with our truth and our higher calling? And we can choose to, nope, that's how I'm going to keep moving forward. But it can get to be where people aren't growing and healing and changing. It kind of can stay stagnant. Different jobs, different people, different friends, different relationships, but they kind of stay the same because there could be something that they don't want to let go of, which could be, I feel more safe and secure and stable and grounded within myself. Not being more creative and inspired, because if you're going to move forward in life differently, it's unknown territory. And like I say, some people in our life, they were willing to go through a couple, years worth of these reiterations and transitions, but then it can get to where someone really does. It could be learning things, healing from things, but we kind of still, to a degree, are still in our comfort zone. And then we'd really have to step into unknown territory. And again, kind of stepping into the light of really living our more authentic life. And it was one thing to learn and heal and grow in some ways where you still got to maybe be self-protective or still make your life more about the world. But it's another thing to really a whole different way of living life. And then the tree card being Virgo energy. In our Virgo nature, again, our truth could have been, I thought life was about, it was more important to work with these things of the world and to make my life about those things or indulge in those things. This would require a whole different way of viewing life. And it really is kind of letting love and intuition guide me more than my self-protective nature, my defensive nature, my worldly nature. It's letting love and intuition guide me. And for some people have really been quite disconnected from their more emotionally intuitive nature because we're emotionally complex human beings. It's confusing. And some people could have decided, a long time ago, nope, I am inspired to keep operating from the foundation I've been operating from. That's my truth. That's how I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's still what drives and motivates me. And when we're in relationships with people and we see that they're maybe not willing to be more authentically themselves, get out of their defensive nature, quit making ego or image or indulgence or money or things like that the most important thing in their life, we kind of realize that how we harness our Leo energy is different. We're either more about ourself or the world and our ego and things like that, or we really are someone who's more motivated to live our authentic life, and everybody puts in work and effort to have stability and security and enjoy the finer things in life. It's just that some people are more willing to live their more authentic life, and some people can kind of get caught up in all these unwritten rules and regulations, like, no, this is how you should live your life, this is what you should do, this is what you should wear, this is what you should act like, whatever the world tells you, that's what you should do, that's what's most important, to kind of conform to the world. Which then, of course, makes me think of that Bible verse, do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when we are enlightened to the truth, and we kind of see through the illusion, why am I not living my more authentic life? Where did all these thoughts come from that dictate my life? Who put those thoughts in my head? Did I put those in my head? Did my friends and family and community and country put those thoughts in my head? Is that really my truth? What's my truth? Why am I not living my authentic truth? From love. I want to treat other people. I want to live my more authentic life, not be shadowy energy, can be all these things that manipulate us. At the big picture, it's kind of the devil. All these things that try to manipulate and control us to stop us from living our more authentic life, letting love and intuition that was given to us as gifts from the divine, to listen to our intuition, to grow to our full potential, not let all these things of the world manipulate us. Let love and intuition be the guiding factor. And love is supposed to be just and fair, treating other people the way you like to be treated. High vibe Leo, being authentic, not trying to deceive people, not trying to manipulate people, not trying to control people. And there is some people in the world that are more comfortable trying to control things, because that's what makes them feel safe and secure. It's like, why can't you go with the flow and just let love and intuition guide you? That's too scary. Then I don't feel like I'm in control. Well, some of these people who think they're in control and try to control things, they have people who leave their life. How did that work out for you? No, I have to try to control people. No, I can't do love, I get hurt. I just want to indulge myself in a relationship. Well, other people kind of listen to their intuition about it, and their dream life isn't to be in a relationship with someone who wants to be self-protective, self-defensive, and just indulge themselves, like sexually in a relationship, but not really being willing to be more authentically themselves. It's like a high vibe person in a relationship with a cardboard cutout person, a person who isn't like operating from that more hopeful, believing, loving nature. They're operating from a foundation more of fear, insecurity, or defensiveness. It's like, my dream is to be in relationships with other people who have learned these lessons and were inspired to put in the work and effort to free themselves from these things that stop them from being more authentically themselves in the world. And I can understand it because we've all been there to different degrees, right? Learning to love yourself is a hard lesson in life. Treating yourself with love and respect and compassion, offering love to people in your past that they were where they were at, and I'm not going to let it keep me in my ego or my defensiveness. I see the truth that everybody is kind of motivated to live their life the way they want to live life. They have their ideas of what is just and fair. I have different ideas of what's just and fair. Some people are very defensive. Some people are very immature. Some people are very prideful and egotistical and self-centered, and it's their way or the highway. But that doesn't mean everybody is. And it is seeing the truth of the differences within people, taking the lessons that we've learned from different encounters with people in our life, and that I'm not going to give up my dreams if I did have some people in my life who turn their back on being inspired to be my friend, to date me, to marry me, to keep working together with me, or they were in more shadowy energy than that. I'm not going to indulge someone in a relationship in their defensiveness or their ego or their self-centeredness if their life is about whatever they want to make it about, and that's not the main focus of my life. High vibe energy is being more independent, more authentic, knowing how to love yourself so you get out of less codependent relationships or get out of more codependent relationships, and learning to give yourself the things that you wish other people would give you makes you more independent. And some people don't want to be in relationships with people who are inspired to be more independent of the world or whatever they like to indulge in to make them happy or make them feel stable or make them feel like they look like a shining star. You know, if you want to live your life differently, they don't want to be in a relationship with you either, because everybody likes to hang out with people who are kind of on the same page as them. And there are some people who are more inspired by the world, more inspired by themselves. That's their truth. That's how they want to keep moving forward. Some other people in their life, like some of you, some people just now are kind of being illuminated to the truth of some people's foundation, because we can get in relationships with people and we kind of don't want to see the truth. Shadowy energy is kind of where we want to stay in denial of the truth, or we're not, because of these things that kind of manipulate us, and we can love people and we want a dream to come into reality that we keep hoping other people will change the foundation they operate from. And we hope they'll be illuminated to the truth one day. And we think if I'm loving and encouraging and supportive one day, they'll walk through that way of viewing life differently, of what their truth is and what they think is just and fair. And one day they'll look at life from a higher perspective or have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in love. But we could it's one thing to offer people love and encouragement, but we should accept the truth of seeing where people are at. And it can take years or decades for people to even get inspired to want to look at what it is that drives and motivates them. Virgo energy is about how we have to see that there are things hidden in the dark that do manipulate us. Some people know there's things that manipulate them and they want to keep it hidden in the dark, and they don't want to look at it. They don't want to see the truth of it. They can have people in their life that they look up to and admire or are codependent on. And if those people are motivated and inspired to keep moving forward this way and not to look at life any differently, then they might be more codependent on those people, if it's their friend group, their family, a sibling, whoever. And it's like, well, if those people don't move forward differently, then I'm not willing to move forward differently. And then you kind of realize some people are more codependent, and it could even be the world. If the world doesn't do that and the world says everybody's doing that, then I'm not going to do it. So then they're just codependent on the world. Other people are like, my intuition tells me this isn't just, this isn't fair, this is superficial, this is shallow, this is unjust, unfair. We can tell ourselves all day we think it's just and fair, but is it? There's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And living my authentic life and willing to stand up for myself and my truth. My truth is different than your truth. The way you like living your life might not be the way I like living my life. I'm not trying to manipulate or control anyone or hurt anyone. I wish you all peace, but I want to live my authentic life, and some people aren't willing to do that. And there can come that point in time where we realize how we want to move forward and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into, and what we think is just and fair based on our idea of the dream life or the dream relationship is different. And so with some of those people, some of you have already parted ways from those workplaces, friendships, and relationships. Some people just now could be doing that. But then we go up to the top row and we have the cross. Let's see, that says the 12th house, which is Aquarius energy. Having hope and faith and belief in a higher truth and justice, not being so caught up in your head, in the world, in your ego, in your fear, having some hope and faith and belief keeping things in perspective, not getting so caught up in your head. But our shadow nature, the playmate, is, our own shadow nature tries to stop us from moving forward. And then there's people in our life, because in our dualistic nature, we have these different people in our life. Who are the people who help us keep things in perspective, who do encourage us to heal, to love and believe in ourselves, to maintain balance within ourselves, believe in our dreams, and who are the people who align with our more shadow nature that, no, keep living your life like this because then you'll still be my friend, or you'll keep working here, or you'll keep dating me or staying in a relationship with me. Who is maybe even not communicating with us, as a tactic to hurt us and manipulate us. Again, you're either truthful and honest and just and fair and acting with character and integrity, or in shadowy Leo energy that anyone can harness, you're kind of trying to manipulate and control people. Make them not love and believe in themselves. Make them fearful of trusting themselves, listening to their intuition, trusting other people. Right now, some of you could have some people that aren't communicating with you. They're trying to stop you, to make you, like, I'm not willing to move forward the way you want to move forward. And if I turn my back on you and I don't maybe communicate with you or take action towards you, maybe, it's kind of like the devil trying to get people to align with them, to not have hope and faith and belief and love. Who in our life tries to make us not have hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in love and in other loving people in our life, that our intuition tells us those people are loving and encouraging. They're not trying to manipulate and control me. And my intuition could be telling me I've kind of learned everything I've needed to learn here. It is time to face my fears and believe in myself. And does everything we go pursue work out the way we want? No. But we learn lessons from that life experience. And I'm going to keep pursuing it. Just like if I had a job that was good for a long time, but my intuition is telling me it's time that I think I can go get that next job. I think I have the skill level and experience level. And other people cannot like that. Well, you're going to leave here. And, then they try to make you get up in your head, And it blocks us from success and love, again, letting love and intuition guide us. So our own shadow nature of fear and insecurity and our self-protective, self-defensive nature tries to, we've got to work through that. And love is the answer. I'm going to offer love to my own fears and insecurities and self-learning beliefs. If there's people in my life that I can offer them love and encouragement, but if they kind of keep looking to the past in Aquarius energy, like, no, I'm sure that is the answer to my problems, or they're in their own relationships or something, we just respect that people are where they're at. And in the energy of love, we keep moving forward. The poverty card is like the Five of Pentacles card, which is the Five of Pentacles has learned lessons in life about the Four of Pentacles, a foundation they had been holding on to, a way of viewing life, a way of living life. And through that life experience, they learned some lessons to get more clear about what their truth was and wasn't. They offered truth and love to the people they were in relationship with, that I saw how these things were manipulating me, my past pain, heartbreak, self-learning beliefs, other people in my life, my own kind of self-defensive nature, my own kind of immature nature, my history, my background. And I offered love to those things, to believe that if I'm capable, the garden card kind of talks about, we've learned how to create abundance in a certain phase of life. I believe I can take that skill and knowledge that I've learned out into the world in other environments and create that abundance there. And I've started to maybe feel kind of, again, we live our life at a certain phase of life, and initially it could have been great, but then it can seem like it's not moving forward, it's not growing, it's not maturing, and it can start. It's just like when you lived your life as a 21-year-old. If you keep living your life like a 21-year-old and, you know, 25 and 30, and you're kind of not facing your fears to kind of grow up and mature yourself, well, for one thing, other people can move on from you and you kind of feel left out in the cold. The fun and the excitement isn't there like it was because you kind of did learn, and it starts to deplete you. It kind of takes more away from you because it could be your fear that is stopping you from moving forward. We could be in relationships with people who are more motivated by themselves, these things of the world that they like to keep indulging in, and we're kind of ready to move forward, and they might still find it great, but we're finding it kind of lacking. And we just have done this inner work. Virgo is the nature within ourself that goes within to deal through all this confusion and complication to see the truth of it. I can love people, and because of how we just are kind of on different pages now, we can move forward with people in a relationship. Other people can kind of drive their life off into the ditch, and they could become more bossy or controlling or start indulging themselves in more immature ways. And, we could have gotten in relationships with people who are more immature, and they could have presented themselves as someone who was on the same page, like they viewed life and they were more just and fair and balanced and emotionally mature. And so then you get in a relationship with them, but as the relationship moves forward, one person can be more motivated by love, another person is kind of indulging themselves in it. And the truth sets us free to live our life differently. And then we can kind of realize that we weren't on really the same page to begin with, because one person, again, could be motivated and inspired and kind of more emotionally mature to make decisions from love. The other person is still kind of more indulging themselves. And so then they kind of want to go be in a relationship with someone who's more like them, because it has gotten to the point where they might have to make some of these decisions to deal with some of these issues within themselves and detach from an old way of living life, kind of let go of their more immature nature or self-indulgent nature, more worldly view of life. And then they're not willing to, because that really is their truth about what drives and motivates them. And some of those people at one point in time in their life, you can always think, oh yeah, I would do love if I got in a relationship with someone who I had love for and is loving and nurturing and just and fair. But then when it really gets to, is that really in my free will, ultimately what drives and motivates me? Having hope and faith and belief in love, or am I kind of more about myself or these things of the world? And then they kind of have to deal with the truth of their foundation, and that's fine. They can live their life whatever way they want. But after they realize the truth, I guess these things, or me, or my defensive nature, or not wanting to do more deep, authentic relationships, because that can be scary. I prefer to kind of maybe be on the surface, maybe use my emotions and my sexuality and all those things kind of more superficially in a relationship. Because I found out I do like to be more self-protective, and I have fears that I haven't overcome of being left out in the cold, and that stops me from moving forward. Well, then once they know that truth, then if they go to get in another relationship, trying to present themselves as, oh yeah, I'm willing to do love, I have hope and faith and belief in love, and get in relationships with other loving people, then they purposely are trying to mislead people. But if they can get in a relationship with people and, work kind of cooperatively with people and kind of maintain balance and indulge in the relationship, they could just indulge in it for as long as or until the person they're in a relationship realizes the truth again about them. And then this whole pattern repeats itself. And then they kind of know that they're deceiving and manipulating people, that they are being shadowy, that, well, I want to be in relationships with people who are loving and nurturing and hopeful and believing and have worked through these issues within themselves to be that type of person. I just, as a mental construct, try to present myself as being that type of person, but I'm really not. But hopefully, if we get in a relationship, work on a foundation together, move forward to bring this dream in, into reality. Hopefully, by the time they find out the truth, maybe that they'll meet someone who's high vibe that will give up their dreams out of, well, I made this commitment, I got in this relationship, I am kind of tempted by all these things and the stability in the relationship, and I don't want to have to go get a new job, a new friend, a new relationship. And then it's kind of to try to get the high vibe people to give up their dreams. And that, you can see how that is really unjust. Someone who isn't willing to be more authentic in a relationship with someone who is, hoping that they'll just give up their dream. And so this person kind of gets indulged in a relationship. And the high vibe people kind of missed out on an opportunity in being in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. And some people weren't willing to stay in it. And they saw the truth of it. And even if it meant they were going to have less of the status or the image or the things, and they were going to feel kind of left out in the cold from a relationship with someone they had love for. Does the other person really love them that they're not willing to do this work within themselves to be more just or fair, get out of their defensive nature or other more shadowy ways of being? And the high vibe people are like, I'm not going to live a life of illusion. I don't care what the world says. I believe in a higher truth and justice. My intuition is telling me that this isn't just and fair. And I'm not going to stay in something that's not just and fair. I believe the divine has a plan for my life. I have to overcome my own fears and insecurities that tempt me to stay settle for less than I deserve, kind of the more worldly dream, more codependent dream, and out of love for my own loving, intuitive inner child nature. The Five of Pentacles is Taurus energy. We have different philosophies of life and why we want to be in relationships, why we want to stay in relationships, and what we think is just and fair. And I'm not willing to give up mine. And I'm going to be inspired to move forward in life believing I will find other people in the world that are on the same page as me, that are inspired by love, who aren't in their fear or their defensiveness or more ego nature or manipulative nature, who really are inspired by love. So, and then as you're moving forward, there's going to be other people who want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. Because there's all these shadowy people. I don't really want to do love, but I like being in a relationship with someone who's like that. That's great. And you're going to have to listen to your intuition, which is lessons you've learned from this life experience, about and not indulge your more worldly nature, kind of like in high vibe Libra and Aquarius energy. You could maybe look at the playmate, maybe kind of like a Sagittarius, kind of Eight of Wands energy. I'll get to know people, but I'm not going to invest my more authentic, loving nature into them. I know all sorts of people I can get along with and talk with, be loving, be encouraging, be supportive to, until I find out the truth of what drives and motivates them. They just kind of stay in the friend zone. And if anybody thought they could tempt me more in my pride or ego or lust and greed to indulge them, I've already indulged people in a relationship. Not doing that again. No interest in repeating that pattern. I'm staying balanced within myself and I'm moving forward inspired by truth and love. Who wants to do that? And then some of those people will be like, oh shit, okay, I need to go find someone else. That didn't work out. It's like, yeah, you need to go find someone else to try to manipulate and tempt. I'm only moving forward with people who are shining their light, speaking their truth, motivated and inspired by love. And those are the people I'm going to keep moving forward with. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Leo energy that they might not see coming? And for some of you, the Five of Pentacles can also mean that you've made offers to people and communicated to people, reached out to people. And needless, a lot of them initially are just people that in your past, in your life, you know, this is how I'm moving forward, who wants to come with. Some of those people are kind of doing this work within themselves. Some of those people right away were like, nope, I'm not doing it. Other people were like, huh, how have I been living my life? How have I been moving forward? What kind of drive and motivates me? What about the people in my life? Why are they in a relationship with me? What drives and motivates me, them? Are they kind of indulging me? Am I kind of indulging them? You know, is this how I want to move forward in my life? Is this my truth? Do we have in our Taurus energy, Leo energy, Libra energy, Aquarius energy, Virgo energy? Are we motivated and inspired by the same things in truth? Or are we not? And some people, you know, the Pentacles of the Five of Pentacles also talks about bringing something into the 3D. You know, if people aren't communicating with us and bringing it into the 3D, well, they're still working through this. And we can, you know what, I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep moving forward. And the people who do communicate and we see we are on the same page, then those are people we move forward with. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Leo energy that they might not see coming up? The Page of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Judgment card. So the Page of Pentacles is a student of life, and it also represents all three earth signs. So all of us tap into our Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus energy. High vibe people, they're all in. In their more worldly nature, they are invested in making the free will choice decision. I choose hope and faith and belief in love and in myself, and I'm willing to be a student of life. Life is about learning all these lessons. I can get caught up in my ego. I can get caught up in my fear. I can get in relationships with other people who are in that energy. Or I take the lesson I've learned that that's not my truth. My soul is calling me and telling me that if I keep moving forward, living my life that way and being in relationships with people who are that way, I'm going to feel left out in the cold. It won't be the abundant. Like, it has half of the things I would like in the world, but the other half is authentic, loving, just, fair relationships with people who act with character and integrity, who treat me the way I treat them. And that's like high vibe Virgo energy. I don't want just these things of the world. I want some of these things of the world. The most important thing is love makes it all worthwhile. If I'm, you know, and then there's that Bible verse in like First Corinthians that, you know, if I don't have love, if I have all these things of the world, blah, 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 but I don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. It's like hollow. It's shallow. It's superficial. I feel left out in the cold. And if I don't learn to love myself, I will keep repeating this pattern. And I'll keep wondering why I keep feeling left out in the cold, why it doesn't work out the way I want. It starts within ourself, investing in loving our own inner child nature to be like good parents to ourselves instead of being in more codependent energy where we look outside of ourselves for people to love us and validate our worth and value. Between me and God, I appreciate I've grown and healed and matured myself. I'm at whatever stage of life I'm at in my emotional maturity level. I don't want to repeat old patterns. I don't want to indulge other people. I don't want other people to be indulging me. I want, where you can let your inner child out to play with other people who are letting their inner child out to play. Being authentic, being loving. Let's all work together cooperatively to enjoy life, to go on this adventure. But everybody has to get out of their ego to hold themselves accountable. If I act in immature ways, manipulative ways, deceptive ways, selfish ways, bossy, immature ways, high vibe people are going to move on. And if I love and value them, I need to do that work within myself, and that's what some people don't get. Some people think maybe because they look like they have justice in the world, like they have all these things that people like, they could shine bright, they could be attractive, they could be charming, social clout, money. Some of those people think, well, no, people should want to be in a relationship with me, and I justify my being able to be in some kind of these immature or prideful or defensive or egotistical ways of being because I have these things of the world that people want to be in a relationship with me. And some other people are like, yeah, someone else can be in a relationship with you, I'm leaving. And then they just can't understand it. Why didn't these people want to be in a relationship? I have all these things that people in the world should want to be in a relationship with me. It's like, maybe you're a little full of yourself. Because if you don't have love, you're superficial and shallow. There's that creative spark of life isn't there because it's more a strategy and a mental construct instead of being authentic. And I think as high vibe people do this work within themselves and call judgment on some people that they have to hold themselves accountable, and that's why some of those people aren't coming with you. They do not want to be held accountable. They don't want to. When someone is holding one pentacle, it means they've seen the truth and they're offering the truth. High vibe Leo illuminating the truth. Some people are like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to reveal that maybe I was immature. Maybe I tried to manipulate someone. Maybe I tried to control someone. Maybe I was kind of full of myself. Maybe I was more caught up in these things. And even though some of those people could feel left out in the cold now, if they were to pop back up in your life, they want you to invest in them anyway, where they don't have to reveal the truth. And it's like, no. Everybody has to hold themselves, admit they're a fallible human being who made mistakes, own it. No shame in making mistakes if we learn lessons from it. Some people aren't willing to do that. They're more motivated by their ego and their image, and they will keep moving forward, not taking action in a more just and fair and balanced way. And I don't think it's going to work out the way they think. Let's go see what's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy. The High Priestess and the Seven of Cups. Why? Because of the Leo Strength card. Some people use their intuition in a shadowy way. With people who might not know the truth about who they are, it's kind of like trying to emotionally confuse people about the truth of who they are. So if there's people in the world that they think look high vibe in the world, whether they are or not, they use their intuition in a more shadowy way to see who they can manipulate. Try to confuse them that they operate more from their ego nature. Shadowy Leo energy. No, I'm high vibe. No, I was maybe the one who was left out in the cold. No, I'm willing to bring this dream into reality. And then again, they get in a new relationship, indulge themselves in it. When the other people in their life are really trying to bring a high vibe Aquarius dream into reality, then they're like, oh shit, I don't know. Maybe I should leave that person out in the cold. There might be someone else I can go manipulate. So it's always trying to find someone, because now they know the truth about themselves too, and they know they've no more being able to not probably deny for some of them that they know they're not who they present themselves to be. And then they get in relationships with people, but other people aren't using their intuition in a shadowy way. And other people do, in high vibe Scorpio, want deep, meaningful relationships, and they're not trying to confuse people about the truth. And as high vibe people in their life try to bring a dream into reality, eventually they kind of see through the emotional confusion that the other person really is more driven by their ego or more about themselves or indulgence or money or materialism. And the high vibe people temper their own ego about it, and they turn their back on them. I see this dream is not going to come into reality. You had your own idea, but you weren't telling me the truth about it. You presented yourself as more motivated and inspired by love, that you are ready to move forward and have this new beginning where people hold themselves accountable, are just, are fair, are authentic, are loving, are warm. And that's not the truth of who you are. And then they have high vibe people who leave their life. And then they could, again, be confused. Well, I have all these things and it looks so good. Because, see, shadowy people, because those things of the world, or the ego, or the image, or the indulgence, or whatever it is they make their life about, are so important to them, they're kind of confused when other people don't make those things more important because they don't get the high vibe energy and might just think love is an illusion, that everybody's trying to manipulate other people in order to have these certain things of the world, because that's how they view life. And they can't believe that some other people were willing to leave those things of the world behind to love and believe in themselves and believe in love, because they maybe don't believe in love. So if they keep doing this, trying to confuse people about the truth of who they are, eventually they'll probably end up with someone in a relationship with someone who's the same way. I also create the illusion that I'm high vibe, but I too like to live more from my mind than my heart. I am willing to indulge people in a foundation if that will get me those things of the world and the status and the image or whatever that I want, or I just live my life the same way you do. And I still am emotionally confused about things I need to temper my ego about. And they could be kind of emotionally cold or detached or bossy or kind of controlling. Secretly, some of the people in their life don't know it yet. Might be kind of immature, might be kind of more about themselves, you know. And there too, if we have two people that are more not really emotionally invested in it, as long as it works for them, it's good for their ego and their image. People aren't requiring them to grow up or take accountability for things. They'll stay in it. But if both people are kind of prideful and egotistical, and one of the people wants them to kind of be willing to temper their ego, someone who is creating the illusion they're that type of person, they might just say, see ya, I found someone else. Oh, look, there's someone who feels is a loving person, maybe, who got left out in the cold. I'll go try to manipulate them. And maybe out of their own fear or insecurity, they'll kind of indulge me more in my ego. Or look, there's someone who has more money and status and image. I don't know if I keep moving forward with this, if I'll have the status and the image. So I'll go try to manipulate someone else. You know, if people aren't in a relationship for love, why are they in it? Well, if someone else comes along that's got more of those things, or more willing to indulge them in their ego, well, then they'll go get in a relationship with someone else, because it's really maybe more about them anyway. And some of these people are going to hide that some of the people who left their life were people they could have had a deep, meaningful relationship with, that were very tempered and just and fair and loving. But because they took some immature action in the relationship, the other people called judgment on them because they harnessed their page of swords in a more immature way instead of a more hopeful, believing way, and the other people moved on. And then they didn't want to reveal the truth or deal with what makes them take those kind of immature actions in a relationship, and just decided that they were going to keep hiding the truth, and that they were just going to move forward trying to create this illusion and confuse people about the truth. Well, you can try to confuse people about the truth, but judgment ultimately will go in favor of the people who were acting with character and integrity and truth. Because you can't hide the truth forever. And the truth comes out just by how people are living their life. High vibe people are being authentic and honest and loving. They're not indulging themselves. They're not taking action more out of pride and ego, or trying to confuse people about the truth, or being superficial. They're being authentic. And the other people are taking a little more immature action, maybe more out of ego, trying to confuse people about the truth. And eventually other people see the truth also. And eventually some other people in their life see the truth, and they distance themselves from them also. So there you go, Leo energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.